Mm.
We're live.
We're live.
I feel like we're always surprised.
We're never entirely sure it'll work.
Welcome to our live show for whoever the one person watching is. Or two. Look at that.
We're Jaime and Chris, and this is our channel, The Green Home, which is literally our home.
Yes, and it is green. And today we wanted to talk about our kind of how it went when we decided to leave Miami and move to Bryson City. Not so much to go over the story again, but really just more the headspace that we were at.
Yeah.
Because it was a very scary decision. So
yeah, and I think it has less to do with even being in Miami and then looking at Miami and comparing it to Bryson City. I think what we're driving at more is like, where was the dissonance in our life that we wanted to take the leap and make a lifestyle change. So we weren't totally sure it was going to be Bryson City for some time, but we were definitely feeling disconnected. I think tired. I think I was feeling like I don't know how to not live in this societal construct. Like, I don't know what living, like I know it's been really popular. Like, if you go on YouTube, all these people like quit their life essentially and start over somewhere new. And to me, that just seemed really, really crazy. And financially for us, it wasn't like we could just quit our lives and like get in a van and go somewhere. I mean, I guess we could have made it work, but we were looking for a more permanent, sustainable life change for us, with work and stuff like that. So yeah, it's more like that story.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was. I think at one point I was just so tired of sitting in traffic for 45 minutes in the morning and then an hour, sometimes hour and a half in the afternoon, and going to an office every day also really wasn't my thing. I felt a lot like I was exchanging my time for money rather than results. And anyway, I knew I wanted to change that, and I didn't really know how. And to your point, getting in a van or something like that, it was a little too scary. And I don't know, I felt to a certain extent that we wanted to keep our career and our lives, as far as whatever that looks like, growing, not necessarily put it on hold for some time and then come back to it later. So I think we had a conversation with my aunt at one point who was looking for somebody to buy the house that she owned in Bryson City, and that sort of got Bryson City on the map for us. In the house, woot woot. All right.
Hola, Lourdes. Hi, Rick.
But anyway, so I think that's what got Bryson City on the map for us. Yeah. And even though that house ended up falling through, a big part of our decision to move was me having a conversation with my employers, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was.
Which I had no idea would go so well.
That was a very, very scary moment because.
Wait, let's lead up to it a little bit.
Okay.
Because
you go ahead. You
okay,
direct.
I mean, we'll keep it short because we don't like to keep these really long. But we had been thinking of even considering going to like Germany and working remotely. I don't know why that was just like an option that we had. Like, we were all over the place.
Travel around and just stay in different.
Tony's
cities.
here too. Hi, Tony. And we wanted that flexibility. So we're like, okay, we're going to look for remote jobs. And you got to remember, this is pre-pandemic. There was definitely remote jobs available, but they were extremely competitive and hard to come by. So we were thinking of all the places in Europe. In Germany, most people speak English. This is like what we were going through. Anyways, I was not working. I had been working for an agency, and it didn't work out anymore, mainly because I wanted more flexibility, and they did not want that, which was fine. So I was not working, so we didn't have that to fall back on. Jaime's income was the only income we had. We had been working for this company for
5 years or so at the time.
Yeah. So this was a much scarier conversation with more things at stake than just like, I want to work remotely.
I had no backup plan either. So it was, this conversation could have led to either, no, you're not able to leave, at which point I would have had to make a serious decision, and also could have led to like, well, you know what? If that's what you're looking for, then we don't want to work with you anymore. I mean, that would have been a
Back it up.
stretch, but still a possibility. And so it was really scary. And at the end of the day, I was just vulnerable with my employers, who are also good friends and became good friends through this job. Um, and so they were totally open to us moving to North Carolina and working remotely. And that was pretty much, I think from that moment, it took us like a month to get everything together, rent out our apartment in Miami, find a small town house to live in for 6 months while we figure out a place
Mm,
to buy here. And yeah, so I guess to the original point you were making, that was the dissonance in Miami for us, or in
mm.
any big city. And not only was it scary for the job purposes of it, but living in a small town was something we had never done, and we knew we wanted to make it work. And also, whatever the idea of living in a small town versus the reality of living in a small town, we didn't know one from the other, obviously.
I
And
don't think we thought about it that much,
no,
to
we
be
didn't.
honest with you. I think there's this quote by Tony Robbins, and I really like it because he's like, change happens in an instant. And then usually people push back and they're like, well, what do you mean change happens in an instant? Change didn't happen in an instant. And he's like, no, change does happen in an instant. You can create something from nothing in very little time. It's the decision to take the leap that takes a very long time. And I think we spent probably years, like I look back at a lot of old notebooks where I was identifying all the parts in my life that were not working where I wanted it to work. Like I wanted a job that was more flexible. That was probably the most important one for me. Like I never liked the idea of someone telling me, you need to come here, you need to sit here for some time, and I don't care if you're producing the same exact result. Like I want your butt in that chair from this time to this time because it just makes me feel better. Like that was always a struggle for me. And so I had been letting go little by little and working more freelance jobs.
I had not.
You had not, yeah. So I feel like that was what for me drove me to eventually be like, we either stay sort of, I don't want to say miserable because, having a nice paying job in a good place that you like is not like a miserable experience, but stay in a life that is not true to how you want to live and who you want to be, and then never quite feel like super happy. It was always like well, I know things are good in my life and I should feel really good about them because like who the hell wouldn't be lucky in my circumstance? Like, all right, it's like that kind of existence, and not the I'm super excited to get up and be in this life existence and be super excited about how I'm living my life, who I'm living it with, where I'm living it. And I feel like that at some point became more important than safety, security, doing things right, caring about what other people thought. Like I struggled with that a little bit when I started to want to be a bit freelance. I don't know why, but I felt like maybe people thought I was flighty or not super, I don't like dependable or something. So I had stories about that. And then I just got over it and I was like, I don't even care. I'm
That
gonna
was
do what I
very
want
well
to
said. Honestly,
do.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And we were grateful to be where we were at when we were in Miami. And that doesn't mean that we were super excited every day to, be in our situation, our life. And yeah, I think that's really what led us to taking that leap without necessarily knowing if there was
Anything on the other
yeah, what was
side.
on the other side. And we definitely do have the mindset that we're creating it, so there was that sort of
Mhm.
mentality, but definitely no safety net, just went for it. And so
Commitment.
all commitment, all intention. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the story.
Yeah. I think that's probably where we'll leave it today to keep it short, but something that we might want to talk about in the upcoming weeks, and I guess it depends, like whatever you guys are interested in, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the before taking the leap, like they're feeling the discomfort, they're feeling the disconnection, they're feeling like this could be more of what I want, this could be better for my taste, my liking. And I think we can spend a little more time talking about that. But I remember specifically reading this book. It's called The 4-Hour Workweek. It's extremely popular. I'm sure most people have read it.
It's a giant book.
It's a giant book. And it's basically this guy, Tim Ferriss, and he was, he had very similar observations in the professional world of this is kind of BS, just doing what people say and sitting in a chair for like 40 hours, even though it's not taking you that long to do it. That's a really great way to unmotivate people. I know from my own experience in different jobs, like people didn't do more. They just found a lot of ways to eat shit and make it look like they were doing things for 40 hours. Excuse my French. So anyways, most of this book is about mindset and different ways to negotiate remote work and or start your own company that will allow you to work remotely. And there's this part at the end of the book. And so I, at that time in my life, it was in our lives, we were like, okay, we really got to focus on the first part of the book, this part that we're unhappy with our situation. We want to have different ways to
Freedom.
Advice to create that freedom. Let's focus on this part of the book. But, I do things completely. So I read this last chapter, and the last chapter is about what happens once you've taken the leap. And he was like, don't skip this chapter. And I remember reading it and being like, man, I want to skip this chapter because I'm so far from being at this point that this is just not applicable to me. And he talks about what happens once you've taken the leap, once you're there in the situation where you're out, you've done the thing, however that shook out, and what happens next. And he's like, it's not I spent a lot of time, I want to say, daydreaming and having faith. And then once we got to this part of our life, I thought it was going to be easy street. Oh my God, we're going to wake up and little birdies are going to land on us. We're going to be so happy with all of this freedom and flexibility. And it's actually the start of a whole completely different journey on how to get into that existence. And it's actually much harder to shake off the mindset of being in the grind, whatever, that's what I'm going to call it. I need to be working from this hour to this hour. I need to have what security looks like to me. It was an entirely new process to dismantle that, to make this lifestyle
part of
work.
Our lives for so long. And the little birdies do wake us up here in Bryson City in the morning.
They do. That clear. Really cute.
So Rick put a very cool comment down there.
Oh wait, let's read Lord Is first.
Sorry,
that's when your heart takes over and your head takes over your head and good life begins. Yeah, absolutely.
That was at the beginning. She wrote that when we were talking about us wanting to
getting out of your head and into your heart is super important. Having faith is not being afraid to move forward even when you can't see the steps in front of you.
That's deep, Rick. Real deep.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. Yeah. We definitely didn't know and didn't see the steps in front of us. And yeah, I think we'll talk more about this, but I think I do want to get more to life once you've created your flexibility and the challenges that come with that.
I still struggle with that, to be honest. Yeah. But you said you want to leave that for next Saturday?
Yeah, we'll leave it for next Saturday. So not really super long.
Well, then tune in next Saturday. Mia is...
Our dog just cleared the couch.
Yeah, she's growing a lot. But yeah, tune in next Saturday. We'll talk a little bit, almost like a part 2 of this, right?
Yeah.
And
that'll be quick too. We have visitors, so it'll be
that's right. We do have visitors. So
we'll talk about the weather. So many people ask us. I resist talking about just doing live on weather.
Every live, I've literally suggested we just talk about the weather.
I know. We get so many freaking questions, and I'm like, I'm not going to talk about the weather. Maybe we'll talk about the weather.
Important subject.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, happy Saturday, Rick.
Sending
Bye,
you lots
Lourdes.
of love.
Bye, Tony.
Bye, guys.